Hi everyone, it's Steven from Legendary Garage Sale Finds. With summer drawing to an end, I wanted to do a video where I showcased all the great books I picked up over the summer from the various comic book shops, flea markets, and comic cons I went to over the summer. Now before I get to the books, I want to talk about how unfortunately at the beginning of the summer we lost somebody here in the comic community here in Baton Rouge. Now at my local comic book shop, Jason's Comics and Cards, uh, we lost somebody who I'd gotten to know over the course of 6 years. Probably one of the first people I met when I moved to Baton Rouge, who helped me get kind of situated on where to pick up my books, because I was still really wanting to continue my collecting when I moved here. So I got to know this guy over the course of 6 years, see him at least once a month for all those years, pick up my books. Here's recommendations for various stories I should read, and he held books for me many a times. So if you're aware of his passing, then you will know who I'm talking about. But I want to start this video by saying this one is for Shane. So starting off the summer, I took a road trip to Texas to visit family and of course go by the comic book shops that I like passing by when I go through Texas. That very first one in Beaumont, Texas is none other than Comics Kingdom. I don't know if I've talked about that store in past videos, but it is by far one of my favorite stores in that area of Texas. It reminds me of all the old comic book shops that just have stuff everywhere. You just have to dig for what you're looking for. And the manager is a pretty nice guy who will work out a pretty good price for you, considering what you pick up. So I want to show you what I picked up on my recent trip to Comics Kingdom. The first thing was a comic book, but I found this in a box. I think I might have owned this back in the day. We have this Dinosaurs magazine from '93. Came out around the time Jurassic Park was really big. And it also has an article in here about Jurassic Park's rated R counterpart, Carnosaur. So if you haven't seen that movie, definitely try to check it out. So nice little magazine showcasing a lot of dinosaur movies and even comic books. Next up, let me go through this stack of what I picked up. Got some Dark Horse Aliens. Always loved growing up with these books from the early 90s, Aliens, Earth Wars. And one of my favorite crossovers, Aliens and Predator, Deadly to Species. Got 7 and 9 out of 12. A couple of Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing 151 and 154. Really nice Predator book in the early Dark Horse days. Now I saw this book poking out of a box and I was drawn to it because it said Werewolf by Night. And incredibly enough, it also has a story with the 90s Red Wolf on it. We have Marvel Comics Presents number 107, I believe. And I'll definitely be looking for the other books around this one because it's a collection of mini stories in case you haven't read this particular series with a bunch of characters. Red Wolf, Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider. On the back, you flip it around, it has a story with Wolverine on it. So really like the art of this one. So definitely be on the lookout for those. Speaking of Werewolf by Night, there were a few reader copies in a box. Just gotta look through boxes at the store to find what you want. We have number 38 and 41. And some other boxes. I found 2 Daredevil I needed for my run. We have 135. And 147. Now, other than the vintage books, I did see a newer series on the New Comics wall that I've never seen before, but I was immediately drawn to because I'm a real huge fan of this character. We have Universal Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives. As you can see, I was really drawn to this cover. It was just amazing. This is issue 2. Fortunately, it didn't have issue 1, but I decided to pick this up because I knew I wasn't going to find this cover anywhere else. So that's what I picked up at Comics Kingdom. I don't quite remember how good a deal I got on everything, but definitely recommend you check it out if you're in the Beaumont area. So later that day, while passing through Houston, I went to a comic book store I've been going to since I was like 10, Third Planet. If you know about that store, it's that blue building. So there, they had the first issue of The Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives, issue 1. They had this amazing cover. A pretty rare one because I haven't seen this one anywhere else. I'm not sure which variant it is, but I really like this cover. A great story. I've enjoyed reading it. And when I got back here to Louisiana, my LCS had the continuation of the story. Now, next up, I was lucky enough to go to Dallas Comic-Con with my good friend Hector, friend of the channel, and we had an amazing time at Dallas Comic-Con with celebs, the artists. I'm going to get into more of the Godzilla or stuff I picked up in another video, but I put together a nice little stack of books from Dallas Comic-Con. The first one here, a book I had never heard of before, but given the co-star, I had to pick it up. We have Marvel Chillers number 6 with Tiger, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, the Werewoman, and Red Wolf. The original Red Wolf, there are several variations, but this is the one who makes his first appearance, trying to take on the Avengers. Now, at a vendor I had bought books from last year at Dallas Comic-Con, I bought a lot of Conan. I'm not sure of his business name, but once I find it, I'll try to post it on the video. But you go to him and he has boxes stacked up at least 8 feet tall, and you look for a title, you're probably going to find it in these boxes. And I put together a few books that I've been looking for, and I got a pretty decent price on them. So first up, we have Swamp Thing number 7 and Swamp Thing number 10. I believe he only wanted like $10 for each of these books, and I didn't notice at the time, but they have autographs on both of them. You see right there. Of course, no paperwork to verify that it actually is who I think it is. I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. He's Bernie Weinstein. I'm not sure, but if anybody can verify these autographs, it'd be really awesome to have some original Swamp Thing books autographed by the artist. And the last book I needed for that Swamp Thing run, he had it, number 24. He also gave me a pretty good deal on an early Conan book I needed for my run, number 3. I think only like $10 because it was pretty mangled here on the cover, but of course I'm just going to be my reader copy. And speaking of Red Wolf, first appearance of the character going up against the Avengers in issue 80. Very nice. And last but not least, Marvel Spotlight number 3. I think this is the second appearance of the Werewolf by Night. I believe all these books, I want to say I paid less than $100 for all these, which I think is a pretty good deal considering how good a condition they are. Finished one run, and now I'm hunting for the other Marvel Chillers with a Red Wolf in it. Now, I did also hit up another comic store, whose name I forget, unfortunately. I have to ask Hector because we went to it after the con. And I found this trade paperback of Legion of Monsters. Of course, featuring their Werewolf by Night, Living Mummy, Morbius, and amphibian type creature like Creature in Black Lagoon, and also Bloodstone. Nice little story. So, pretty good read. I recommend it. Now, also, while I was in Texas, I visited a small flea market in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I couldn't tell you where we even were. But my folks and I decided to check it out one Saturday morning. And I went around, and fortunately I didn't see any comic books. But on my second trip around, I asked. And one particular lady said, "Oh, I have comic books in my truck." So she brought out about 3 boxes. They weren't full, but they were both random assorted books. And she only wanted $2 a piece for them, if I'm not mistaken. So this is what I picked up at my first flea market. There's a bunch of random assortment of books. We got Wildcats and X-Men, Doctor Strange, Wildcats #1, movie adaptation of 2010. So a lot of books that were never seen before, but pretty independent. We have Pantheon #1, Tarzan of the Apes, The New Wave #1. Now, I was kind of drawn to this book because I knew it was a parody. We have Ultra Klutz #5 with this nice little Ultraman parody cover. I thought that was pretty funny. And last but not least, we have this series, which I enjoy reading so far. I have 7 issues of Scout. Well, 7 trade paperbacks, I should say. They're pretty thick. And it is by far one of the darkest, grittiest crime dramas I've actually ever read. And really enjoying the artwork, the story, and the fact that it is got mostly native characters in it, and it takes place on an Indian res. I'm not sure where exactly, but I remember hearing about this book when it came out. I was really glad to find it in the trade paperback form, and I'm in the second book already, and I really enjoy it. So I hope everybody out there, if you come across this, definitely take a look at it. It's great art, great story. Now, next up, I took a trip up to Massachusetts because why not? Friends said they were going, they had a place to stay. I wanted to tag along, just help us drive. And about 24 hours later, we made it up to Northampton, Massachusetts. Really nice weather, really nice small little town. The great part about it, 2 comic book stores were in walking distance from where we were staying. At the very first one, Holy Moly Comics, was a really nice store. I could tell it'd been there for a while, but it was in a basement of a building. I've never been to a basement comic book store, but you enter through the side of this building and walk down this ramp, which didn't have any lights, so you're kind of just walking in darkness till you come to the comic book store at the bottom of the ramp. And they had a nice assortment, but they didn't have anything I was looking for. Looking back at it, I probably should have picked up the Conan books I saw. But the very next store I went to, Newberry Comics. That one was a very interesting, trendy type store. And I say that because they had a lot more than comic books. They had aisles of Funko Pops, t-shirts, vinyl, collectibles, all assortment, cards, and you name it, they probably had it there. And although I looked through their small comic collection that they had, I didn't have any books I wanted, but in the Godzilla section, I did see something that I couldn't leave behind. And that was this. Brave Like Godzilla, a new Godzilla children's book by, make sure, Charlie Moon. So I've been meaning to get this book, and when I saw it just right there in front of me, I knew it had to come home with me. So this was the first pickup at the comic book shops in Massachusetts. Now, shortly before we left, I managed to convince my travel mates to take a little detour up to Greenfield, Massachusetts, where I got to visit a store I heard about so much in Lunch Money Comics videos, and that was his and her comics in Greenfield, Massachusetts, and had an amazing time. The owner, Nishan, was beyond reproach. He was so helpful. All the random books that I asked for, he either knew he had it in this box, or he said, oh, that one just sold, unfortunately. But what made it really awesome is he helped me find some of those books. So I'll show you the stack that I picked up at his and her comics. So first up, I picked up this trade paperback of Duke. Been having trouble getting all the issues of this particular story, so I decided just to buy the trade paperback, and was not disappointed. The Energon verse, I really enjoyed all the storylines: Duke, Scarlet, Destro, Void, Rivals, and Transformers. So I was really happy to find this. Next up, we have Werewolf by Night, Blood Hunt 1. Really nice little one-shot. I haven't been really reading the Blood Hunt Marvel series, but I couldn't turn away from the Werewolf by Nights, and I was really glad to see that they were picking up from the previous incarnation of Werewolf by Night, where it is a young native named Jake, if I'm not mistaken. So we're happy to pick this up over there. And I believe after reading this, I found out they're going to do a series with the original Werewolf by Night character, I believe before the end of the year. So I'm looking out for that. Now, a couple of the books here I got are the Saga of Swamp Thing number 26. Since I put together my older run of Swamp Thing, I got to put together the second run. Saga number 11. Now, these were pretty amazingly priced and a big upgrade from what I already have. We have Conan number 5. A lot better condition than my copy, so I decided to pick it up for only, well, $15 here, but I got a deal. And speaking of the Marvel Chillers, I've found number 5. So only one more left. I think it's number 7. And last but not least was a book I was considering picking up. I bought my other stack of books, left, but I got to thinking, we talked about it, because it was one of the books I've been looking for. I was looking for the facsimile of this book, so I knew it would have been cheaper, but that one's even harder to find than this book. So after a short walk away, I turned around, went back in, told Nishan I'm going to get that book. And that is none other than Legion of Monsters, the Marvel Premiere number 28, their first appearance. And we have the Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Morbius, and of course, Ghost Rider. I've seen this book throughout the summer for various prices, upwards of like $200. So when I saw this price tag and given the condition, I decided I'm not going to see it any better condition for the price. So I decided to pick it up. So Nishan was such a great guy, and when I told him how far I had come, from not just from Northampton, but from Louisiana, he gave me a deal on these books. All these, I want to say about $90 for these. So I was really happy to pick up a book I've been looking for, and seeing all the great books at his and her comics, which if you're in the Northeast, definitely check it out. I know Lunch Money Comics talks about it all the time, but it is really, really great store. So definitely look it up. And last but not least, we have one more stack of books. When I returned to Louisiana, I went to a flea market that happens the second Saturday of every month at a place called V Watts Furniture in Livingston, Louisiana. And this time around, I didn't think I was going to find anything, so I wasn't filming when I first walked up, but I did get some footage with my phone of the great books a vendor that I was familiar with had brought out to the show, and picked up a pretty good stack of books. Second lizard, third lizard. Nice box. Mr. Sinister.
Or like the Jew.
Nah, I saw it. So first up, we have this book I'd never seen before. We have Brandon Lee, Taken Too Soon. Nice little story about the life of Brandon Lee. Very interesting read. I read it not too long ago, and interesting information. I was very curious because some of it I didn't think was factual, but I need to look it up. But it was an interesting book, and I liked the artwork on the cover. Next up, we have Marvel featured presents Red Sonja #1. I think it's our first solo series. Now we have none other than Mr. Deadpool, #1 here, and it's one of his. This is a limited series. Yeah, I think it's like 1 out of 4, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the new movie today. Amazing. So many comic book, Marvel references and cameos. Definitely gonna be checking out again. So happy to find this one. And I couldn't go nowhere without picking up another Swamp Thing. We have 55. That's some really nice vintage books. We have Amazing Spider-Man 155. Number 71. I'm gonna show that right here. Pretty good shape. That's covered with Quicksilver. X-Men 88. Frankenstein monster on the cover. Next up, a book I already owned, but it was such a great price, I decided to pick it up. We have Spectacular Spider-Man 64. First Cloak and Dagger. It's in better shape than the one I had, so I decided to pick it up. Same with this book right here. I already owned it. I picked it up last year. When I saw it and its price, decided to pick it up again. We have Swamp Thing #9. It's a beautiful cover. One of my favorites. Now the last two books were probably the bigger keys. We have X-Men 109. The first appearance of, I want to say, Weapon Alpha and Alpha Flight, if I'm not mistaken. And last but not least, a book I hadn't owned, but I'm glad I found it for the price. X Factor #6. First Apocalypse. Now, all these books, the vendor I had bought books from in the past, and one of my biggest comic flops where I accidentally paid a little bit more than they were marked. The vendor Miguel had done the math wrong, and I had done the math wrong. So this time around, I double checked my math twice over, and the books here, listed price added up to about $155, if I'm not mistaken. And I went to approach him, and he remembered me, and he told me he didn't even actually count it up. He said 155, we can have him for 120. So in my opinion, that was such a great deal. I immediately threw out of my head what happened before in the past, and I was like, sounds good to me. And not only did he mark it down from 155 to 120, he let me pick out a book for free from one of his boxes, and that was the 155 Amazing Spider-Man. A big upgrade from the one I already have. So all those combined made a pretty good deal, if I'm not mistaken. So let me know what you think about that deal and all the other deals and all the other pickups I made this summer. Let me know what's your favorite down in the comments. Let me know if there was any deal you think I might have paid too much for or did really good on. But I'm really happy with all the great books I picked up for all my runs this summer, and I Hope y'all enjoyed the content and we like this video. But until next time, thanks for watching.